And I was actually just here a few days ago during the middle of the day, and I ended up waiting over 2 hours and not a single train came in either direction. Now, no train has come by yet, but I will prevail, hopefully. Wait a little bit longer. Well, today is definitely the coldest day we've had here. It is currently about -20 and it's almost a completely clear day, so no warmth being trapped in from some cloud cover. But I'm actually quite close to the hostel I'm staying at in Lake Louise, and this is a very popular place called Morant's Curve. And so what makes this so beautiful is, of course, you've got the river coming through, winding its way around the mountains. You've got the railroad, which makes a little bit of a curve and an S-bend as it sort of weaves its way through here. And of course, you've got the mountains in the background, so it's sort of the trifecta of interesting subjects. And they've built this viewing platform now for people to get their photographs. And normally I'm actually at the end there. I photographed this quite a few times in different light, and I normally get there, get a little bit more zoomed in, probably around 35 millimeters, and sort of get that train coming right around that bend, quite close to the bottom of the camera. And so this morning I've tried a composition I've never actually really tried before, which is at the other end of the viewing platform. And so shooting from down at the end here, I'm actually shooting a little bit wider as well. So the train isn't quite as much of a focal point in the scene, although it's definitely still an important part of it, assuming I get one to come through. But I'm able to include a little bit more of the mountains. So previously I was only really able to include sort of that mountain range, which looks almost right behind the railroad tracks, and shooting a little bit wider I can include here as well. So it's a little bit more of a sweeping vista type of shot. Now in terms of the train itself, we're a little bit before sunrise here, so it's still a little bit dark out here. The last single frame I took was about a 5-second exposure. Depending on when a train comes, because there is no schedule, I'm sort of going to play it by ear. If it's still a little bit dark out and I can't really do a frozen frame, then I'm going to emphasize the long exposure, and I might lower my ISO and close down my aperture as much as possible just to ensure I get a long enough exposure for that train trail. If it's a bit brighter, then of course I might do the opposite, bump my ISO and lower my aperture or open it up, and that will just give me a faster shutter speed so that I can freeze the train coming through the scene. So because there's absolutely no schedule for the train, I'm hoping sort of a Monday morning, start of a typical work week, there might be a little bit more activity, but so far it doesn't sound like it. So next steps, we either wait for sunrise and or a train to come by. Now right now I'm starting to see some color popping up in the sky, so some of the clouds that I thought I saw are really starting to catch some of that light. So just take a few more shots throughout the changing light, and still hope that a train will come by sooner rather than later, because it's really, really cold. Okay, so I think I hear a train coming, but I don't see it yet. But it's coming from what I might call the wrong direction. So what I'm going to actually do is both of my previous attempts. So I'm going to stick on an ND filter, and I'm going to get a longer exposure of the train moving through the frame. Now generally these trains are pretty long, so I should have multiple attempts at the various different types of cars on the train getting the movement there. And then I'm hoping at the end of the train there will be a caboose, and I can capture that coming as it goes around the bend. And as a still photo, you don't really know whether it's coming or going. So from that perspective, it should hopefully work pretty well. And for the long exposure, I am expecting my exposure time to be long enough that it's a blur, so you don't really get a sense of which way the train is going. But yeah, I'll get my filters ready because I think it's coming pretty soon. no one else is around at this pretty popular place, and so although it's freezing cold, at least my car is right across the street and I get to enjoy this amazing view all for myself right now.